Welcome, dear listener, to a journey through one of the most extraordinary places on Earth. Tonight, we are traveling not by plane, nor by ship, but through the calm flow of words, to Iceland. Known as the land of fire and ice, this island is a living contrast, where glaciers meet volcanoes, and quiet fishing villages sit beneath some of the most dramatic landscapes in the world. If you are here to unwind, to study peacefully, or to simply drift off into sleep with new knowledge, you are in the right place. Tonight's exploration will bring you 40 incredible facts about Iceland. Each one will reveal something unique: its nature, culture, history, and even the mysteries of its skies. Before we begin, a gentle invitation. If you enjoy this kind of calm and curiosity-driven content, feel free to like the video and subscribe only if it truly helps you relax. And if you'd like, leave a comment with your city, your country, and the time you're watching. I love to see how far across the world these quiet stories travel. Now, let us begin. Our first fact takes us deep beneath the surface of the Earth. Iceland is one of the most volcanically active places in the world. In fact, the island sits directly on the mid-Atlantic ridge, where the North American and Eurasian tectonic plates are slowly drifting apart. This movement creates a seam in the Earth's crust, and out of it, fire, rise lava, geysers, and geothermal energy. There are more than 130 volcanic mountains across Iceland, and some of them erupt with surprising regularity. Jólabókaflóðið, the volcano that disrupted air travel across Europe in 2010, reminded the world just how powerful Iceland's geology can be. Yet, where there is fire, there is also ice. Almost 11% of Iceland's land area is covered by glaciers. The largest, Vetnikal, is so vast that it covers about 8% of the country by itself. Imagine a sheet of ice, larger than many European nations, resting quietly yet powerfully on this small island. Beneath it, volcanoes sometimes stir, creating spectacular natural phenomena like glacial floods, awe-soothing rhythm of opposites. Fire and ice is what defines Iceland's very soul. Let us move from the dramatic to the serene. Iceland is home to some of the cleanest energy production in the world. Nearly all of its electricity comes from renewable resources, with geothermal energy and hydropower leading the way. Imagine entire cities heated not by coal or oil, but by the natural warmth of the Earth itself. In Reykjavik, even sidewalks in winter are kept free from snow and ice, using geothermal heating beneath the pavement. This is not just a marvel of science, it is also a luxurious touch of comfort for daily life. The capital, whose name translates to Smoky Bay, is named after the steam that early settlers saw rising from geothermal hot springs. And indeed, hot springs remain a treasured part of Icelandic culture today. Places like the Blue Lagoon, a milky blue geothermal spa surrounded by lava fields, attract both travelers and locals alike. Beyond its beauty, it is a space of relaxation, health, and even social gathering, a modern luxury that still feels rooted in ancient tradition. But Iceland's uniqueness extends far beyond geology and energy. Its language is one of the purest forms of Old Norse still spoken. Icelandic has changed so little over the centuries that many Icelanders can still read the medieval sagas written hundreds of years ago. These sagas, filled with tales of Vikings, gods, and dramatic landscapes, are not just literature, they are living history, woven into the identity of the nation. And speaking of the people, Iceland is home to just under 400,000 residents, making it one of the least densely populated countries in the world. Wide open spaces, vast fields of moss-covered lava, and untouched highlands give the impression of a land waiting to be discovered. Even though people have lived there for over 1,000 years, the population is concentrated mostly along the coast, where fishing has sustained Icelanders for centuries. Even today, fishing remains a cornerstone of the economy, with cod, haddock, and herring supporting both domestic life and global trade. Yet, despite its small population, Iceland holds a unique place in the world economy, especially through tourism. In recent decades, millions have visited annually, drawn by the northern lights, waterfalls, glaciers, and otherworldly landscapes. Tourism now rivals fishing as a major contributor to the economy, turning Iceland into not only a natural wonderland, but also a global travel destination. Let us pause for a moment and picture this, standing at Lyngvar National Park, where two tectonic plates meet. You are literally standing on the seam of two continents, with one foot in North America and the other in Eurasia. The ground is split into deep fissures filled with the clearest water you may ever see. Silfra, one of these fissures, is so transparent that divers can see over 100 meters in front of them underwater. This clarity makes it one of the most extraordinary diving spots on Earth, and from water we turn our eyes to the sky. Few natural spectacles are as enchanting as the Aurora Borealis, the northern lights. Iceland is one of the best places in the world to witness this natural light show, where solar winds collide with the Earth's magnetic field, painting the night sky with shimmering curtains of green, purple, and sometimes even red. For centuries, these lights inspired legends and myths, from Viking tales to folklore about spirits in the heavens. Today, they remain one of the most powerful draws for tourism, attracting visitors eager to catch even a glimpse of their fleeting beauty. This is the beginning of our journey across Iceland. 40 facts that weave together a story of fire, ice, history, and human resilience. Each fact will carry us deeper into the mysteries and marvels of this northern island. We continue our quiet journey through Iceland, a land where opposites live in harmony. It is not only a place of volcanoes and glaciers, it is also a stage for some of the most dramatic landscapes on Earth, shaped by both destruction and renewal. One remarkable fact about Iceland is that it is still growing. Because it straddles the Mid-Atlantic ridge, new land is slowly being formed as lava cools and hardens. This geological process is visible in places like the Westman Islands, where an eruption in 1973 buried homes under ash and expanded the coastline. Out of the chaos, however, came opportunity. New land, new rock, and even fertile soil slowly created fresh habitats. Iceland is, in many ways, a living classroom of Earth's most powerful forces at work. But for every fiery eruption, there's also the quiet majesty of glaciers. Vatnajökull, Europe's largest glacier, is a frozen giant with ice so thick it hides entire volcanoes beneath it. The weight of these glaciers has carved deep valleys and fjords, shaping Iceland's coastline into a jagged tapestry of inlets and cliffs. When you look at satellite images, Iceland's coasts almost look like lace, delicate yet strong, molded by ice and time. One particularly breathtaking creation of ice and water is Jólabókaflóðið, the glacier lagoon. Here, immense chunks of ice break off from Borealis glacier and float into a tranquil lagoon before drifting toward the sea. The icebergs, glowing with shades of white, blue, and even crystal-clear transparency, sometimes wash ashore on nearby black sand beaches, creating what locals call the Diamond Beach. Imagine lying back, listening to the quiet crackle of melting ice, watching the North Atlantic waves carry away these temporary sculptures. It is one of the most serene yet powerful landscapes on Earth. Iceland is also home to waterfalls of extraordinary beauty. With so much glacial meltwater and frequent rainfall, rivers tumble across the island in every direction. Among the most famous is Gullfoss, the Golden Falls, where water plunges into a canyon in 2 dramatic steps. In sunlight, rainbows often arc across the mist, giving the waterfall an almost mythical aura. Then there is Dettifoss, one of the most powerful waterfalls in Europe, with a thunderous roar that can be felt through the ground before it is seen. And Seljalandsfoss, a waterfall you can walk behind, allowing you to stand inside the spray of a natural curtain of water. These landscapes not only inspire are central to Iceland's identity. They have shaped the way people live, where they build, and even how they think about time. For Icelanders, the land is not something to be conquered, but something to live alongside. The presence of geothermal activity has also created landscapes unlike anywhere else in the world. In places like Hvr, near Lake Mukvat, the ground bubbles with boiling mud pots, hisses with steaming fumaroles, and smells, faintly, of sulfur. It feels like stepping onto another planet-orange Earth. Blue pools and vapor rising from the ground. Yet, despite their alien appearance, these geothermal areas are vital for Iceland's energy system, providing clean, renewable power and even heating greenhouses where vegetables grow year-round in a subarctic climate. And while much of Iceland feels untouched, there are also places where human ingenuity has turned harsh landscapes into havens. Consider the tradition of turf houses. For centuries, Icelanders built their homes with thick walls of earth and grass, insulating themselves against the freezing winds. Some of these turf houses, with their green roofs blending into hillsides, are still preserved today. They are reminders of how people adapted not only to survive, but to live in harmony with a demanding environment. The contrasts of Iceland extend beyond land and water to the very light in the sky. In the summer, the sun barely sets, creating the midnight, sun-endless, golden evenings where time seems to dissolve. In the winter, by contrast, darkness stretches across the day, with only a few hours of pale sunlight. These rhythms of light and dark have shaped Icelandic culture, from festivals celebrating the return of the sun, to traditions of storytelling and gathering during the long, dark winters. Even Iceland's beaches reflect this duality. Instead of the golden sands, often imagined in tropical destinations. Many Icelandic beaches are black, formed from volcanic rock. Reynisfjara, perhaps the most famous, is a hauntingly beautiful shore lined with basalt columns, sea caves, and towering rock formations that rise from the waves. Legends say these sea stacks were once trolls turned to stone by the rising sun, a story that blends the real and the mythical, as so much of Iceland does. Nature in Iceland is not only powerful, it is alive with stories. Every mountain, waterfall, and lava field seems to carry with it a tale, whether of ancient settlers, hidden people, or gods of the Norse pantheon. To wander through Iceland is to step into both a natural wonderland and a living myth. And so, as we let our thoughts drift across these landscapes of fire and ice, we begin to see Iceland not just as a place on the map, but as a storybook written in geology, climate, and human resilience. To understand Iceland, one must begin with its fiery heart. This is not a land shaped gently by time. It is a place forged in fire, where volcanoes rise, eruptions reshape the land, and geothermal forces hum just beneath the surface. Iceland is often called the land of fire and ice, and nowhere is the fire more evident than in its volcanoes. Iceland sits directly on the mid-Atlantic ridge, the boundary between the North American and Eurasian tectonic plates. These plates are slowly pulling apart, creating cracks where magma rises from the Earth's mantle. This process fuels Iceland's remarkable number of volcanoes, around 130 in total, with about 30 considered active. It is one of the most volcanically active regions in the world. One of the most famous eruptions in Icelandic history took place in 1783 at Loki, over 8 months. A series of fissure eruptions released enormous amounts of lava and toxic gases, devastating local communities. The effects went far beyond Iceland. The eruption caused widespread crop failures across Europe and contributed to food shortages that, some historians argue, even played a role in sparking the French Revolution. Here, we see how Iceland's volcanoes, though remote, have influenced the course of global history. More recently, the 2010 eruption of Eyjafjallajökull caught the world's attention not only because of its fiery spectacle, but because its ash cloud shut down European air travel for weeks. The fine ash, carried high into the atmosphere, posed a danger to jet engines, grounding thousands of flights. It was a reminder of how interconnected our world has become, and how events in a small island nation can ripple across continents. Yet Icelanders do not only endure their volcanoes, they embrace them. Volcanic activity provides an abundance of geothermal energy, which Iceland has harnessed with extraordinary success. Today, about 90% of Iceland's homes are heated by geothermal power. Hot water flows directly from underground reservoirs into homes, schools, and even swimming pools. Reykjavik, the capital, is warmed by vast geothermal heating systems that also keep sidewalks clear of ice in winter. Geothermal energy has also shaped Iceland's culture of bathing. Hot springs, some natural and some enhanced by human design, are scattered across the country. The Blue Lagoon, perhaps the most famous, is a milky blue pool created from the runoff of a geothermal power plant. Its mineral-rich waters, warmed by Earth's heat, attract visitors from around the world. But beyond the tourist attractions, small geothermal pools and hidden hot springs remain an essential part of daily life for Icelanders. They are places to relax, to socialize, and to enjoy warmth in a cold climate. Some geothermal areas in Iceland are dramatic landscapes of their own. In the Krafla region, steam vents, sulfurous pools, and lava fields spread across the earth like a painting of another world. In Hakadalar Valley, the great geyser after which all geysers are named still, bubbles beneath the earth. Though its more active neighbor, Strákr, erupts every few minutes, shooting boiling water into the air. These natural spectacles remind us of the power constantly at work beneath our feet. Volcanoes also create new land. In 1963, an eruption off Iceland's southern coast gave birth to a brand new island, Surtsey. Rising from the sea, the island became a living laboratory for scientists, who observed how life slowly colonized the barren rock. Seabirds arrived first, followed by mosses, plants, and, eventually, insects. Surtsey remains restricted to researchers, but it offers invaluable insight into how ecosystems begin. The Icelandic people have long respected the unpredictability of their volcanoes. Traditional folklore often weaves together the natural and the supernatural, telling stories of gods, giants, and hidden beings who live in mountains and lava fields. To an Icelander, centuries ago, a volcanic eruption may not have seemed like a random geological event, may have felt like the anger of forces far beyond human control. Yet today, Iceland's relationship with fire has become one of balance. While eruptions still cause disruption, the same forces power homes, provide income through tourism, and make Iceland a leader in renewable energy. This duality, danger and opportunity, destruction and creation, is at the core of what makes Iceland so unique. As we picture the glowing lava flows, the steaming vents, and the soothing hot springs, we can almost hear the heartbeat of Iceland itself. A land alive, never still, always changing. If fire gives Iceland its restless energy, then ice gives it its quiet majesty. Glaciers, vast rivers of frozen time, cover about 11% of Iceland's surface. They are more than ice. They are living archives of the Earth's climate, powerful sculptures of the land, and symbols of endurance in a changing world. The largest glacier is Vatnajökull, the water glacier, which sprawls across southeastern Iceland. It is not only the biggest glacier in Iceland, but the largest in all of Europe by volume. Its size is staggering. It covers more than 8,000 square kilometers, larger than some small countries. Beneath its icy weight, active volcanoes slumber, sometimes erupting and melting the glacier from below. When such eruptions occur, the result can be a dramatic glacial flood known as a Jökulhlaup, capable of reshaping valleys and sweeping away roads and bridges. These floods are reminders of how intimately fire and ice are intertwined in Iceland. Another remarkable glacier is Glacier. It is the second largest in the country and has become a place not only of natural beauty, but of human curiosity. Engineers have carved tunnels into the ice, creating an ice cave where visitors can walk deep into the frozen world. Inside, the ice glows with shades of blue, each layer telling a story of snowfall from centuries past. To walk inside a glacier is to step into a history written not in books, but in frozen layers of water. Glaciers in Iceland are more than static landscapes, they move. Slowly, over years and decades, their weight pushes them downhill, carving valleys, grinding rocks, and shaping the terrain. Fjords, U-shaped valleys, and smooth plains bear the marks of this ancient sculpting. Many of the country's dramatic coastal landscapes were born from the retreat of glaciers after the last ice age. At the edge of Vatnajökull lies Geysers, a glacial lagoon where icebergs break away from the glacier and drift in a tranquil blue lake before floating out to sea. The icebergs glisten like diamonds, sometimes washed ashore on black volcanic sand beaches, creating a surreal contrast of white, blue, and jet black. Locals call this place Diamond Beach, and it is one of the most photographed natural wonders in Iceland. In the stillness of the lagoon, one can almost hear the gentle creak of ice, a reminder that even something so seemingly eternal is always in motion. Glaciers are also vital to Iceland's water systems. Meltwater from glaciers feeds rivers that power hydroelectric stations, providing the country with another source of renewable energy. Just as geothermal heat warms the homes, glacial rivers light the cities. It is an elegant balance where nature provides the energy for both warmth and light. Yet these icy giants are also fragile. Climate change is reshaping them rapidly. Scientists estimate that Iceland's glaciers could disappear within the next 2 centuries if warming trends continue. Already, many have shrunk dramatically. In 2019, Iceland held a memorial for Ökjakull, a glacier that had lost so much mass it was no longer considered alive. The ceremony placed a plaque reading, "This monument is to acknowledge that we know what is happening and what needs to be done. Only you know if we did it." The plaque is not only a farewell to a glacier, but a warning to humanity about the future. Still, glaciers remain deeply embedded in Icelandic identity. They are present in the language Kol. The Icelandic word for glacier appears in countless place names. They shape the art and literature, appearing in sagas, poems, and paintings. And they continue to inspire awe as both symbols of strength and reminders of impermanence. Walking near a glacier, you might hear silence so deep it feels otherworldly, broken only by the occasional crack of ice shifting. That sound is a whisper of the glacier's life, its slow journey, its breath across the centuries. It is no wonder that travelers describe standing before an Icelandic glacier as a humbling experience. In Iceland, ice is not merely a backdrop, it is a character, a force, a teacher. Together with fire, it writes the story of the land, shaping not only its geography, but also its people, culture, and way of life. To see Iceland is to see ice as alive as any river or mountain, an element that holds memory within its frozen depths. If glaciers are the frozen veins of Iceland, then waterfalls are its pulsing heartbeat. Few countries on Earth have as many spectacular cascades concentrated in such a small space. With its abundant rainfall, melting glaciers, and rugged volcanic terrain, Iceland is home to over 10,000 waterfalls, each with its own story and character. Perhaps the most iconic of them all is Gullfoss, meaning Golden Falls. Located along the famous Golden Circle route, it plunges in 2 dramatic stages into a deep canyon. When sunlight strikes its mist, rainbows often appear, arcing across the gorge like luminous bridges. Travelers in the early 20th century once feared Gulfis would be lost to a hydroelectric project. But thanks to the determination of a local woman, named your Thomas daughter, who fought tirelessly to protect it, the waterfall was saved. Today, Gulfis is not only a symbol of Iceland's natural beauty, but also of its people's commitment to preservation. Then there is a waterfall that drops an almost perfect curtain of water down 60 meters. Legends say a Viking settler hid a chest of gold behind the falls, visible only when the light hits the water just right. Many who visit stand close enough to feel the spray on their faces, as if they are part of the myth themselves. The sheer volume of water creates a roar that echoes across the valley, yet in its rhythm, many find a strange calm. Seljulandsfoss offers a more intimate encounter. Here, visitors can walk behind the waterfall, standing within the cavern while sheets of water pour before them. It feels as though one has stepped inside the waterfall's secret heart. From this perspective, the world outside looks like a shimmering curtain, an ever-moving veil between two realms. At sunset, the falls glow golden, and the experience becomes almost dreamlike. Far to the north lies Dettifoss, sometimes called the most powerful waterfall in Europe. Its sheer force is staggering thousands of tons of water thundering down every second into a rocky canyon. The ground trembles beneath the feet of those who stand nearby. Whereas elegant and Gulfis is golden, Dettifoss is raw power, a reminder of nature's might. It has even appeared in films, chosen for its otherworldly strength and presence. Not all waterfalls in Iceland are about height or power. Some are celebrated for their serenity. Hrangfossar, for example, is a series of delicate cascades that seem to emerge directly from the porous lava rock itself. Instead of falling from cliffs, the water seeps through the ground and trickles gracefully into the Hvita River. Standing there feels like watching nature weave lace from liquid. Nearby, Barnafoss tells a darker tale. Its name means the children's waterfall, and local folklore says two children once fell into the rushing waters, leading their grieving mother to curse the stone arch that once spanned the river. These waterfalls are more than scenic landmarks. They are tied deeply to Iceland's culture and economy. In the sagas, waterfalls often appear as backdrops to dramatic events, their timeless presence connecting past and present. In modern times, rivers that feed these falls provide hydroelectric power, supplying clean energy to towns and industries. The beauty of the waterfalls is thus inseparable from their practicality. They are both inspiration and resource. The spiritual connection to waterfalls runs deep. Many Icelanders see them not only as natural wonders, but as places of energy, where the boundary between the human world and the elemental feels thin. Standing near a fall with mist on your skin and thunder in your ears, it is easy to believe the water holds a kind of wisdom, endlessly renewing, endlessly flowing. There is also a rhythm to Iceland's waterfalls that mirrors the rhythm of life itself. Some roar with unstoppable force, like Dettifoss, echoing moments of strength and intensity. Others flow softly and gently, like Hrangfossar, mirroring peace and quiet reflection. Together, they create a tapestry of moods and meanings, teaching that nature, like life, is never one thing, but many. Travelers who arrive in Iceland often remark that waterfalls are everywhere, as though the land itself cannot help but weep beauty. Some appear suddenly by the roadside, unnamed and unmarked, while others are grand destinations, drawing visitors from around the world. Each one is different, yet all are connected by the same cycle: rain, snow, ice, melt, water, and flow. In Iceland, waterfalls are liquid sculptures. They carve the landscape, inspire legends, generate energy, and soothe the human spirit. They remind us that water is never still, always moving, always shaping, always alive. To drift to sleep with the sound of Iceland's falls in mind is to imagine a lullaby composed by the earth itself, gentle, powerful, and eternal. If Iceland's waterfalls are the living breath of the island, its glaciers are the great sleeping giants, vast bodies of ice that both preserve history and shape the present. Covering around 11% of the country's surface, these glaciers dominate the landscape and the imagination. They are more than frozen water. They are archives of climate, reservoirs of fresh life, and sculptors of the land. Vatnajökull, whose name means water glacier, is the largest of them, all not just in Iceland, but in all of Europe. Its size is staggering, nearly 8,000 square kilometers of ice, thick enough, in some places, to cover entire mountain ranges. Beneath its icy surface lies a restless world. Volcanoes slumber under the ice cap. And when they awaken, the heat can melt vast amounts of ice, causing sudden floods called geysers. These floods rush down valleys with immense force, reshaping the land in hours. It is as though fire and ice engage in an eternal dance beneath Vatnajökull's shimmering white expanse. To the west lies Langjökull, the long glacier. From above, its shape resembles a frozen river stretching across the highlands. Beneath it lies Iceland's second-largest system of ice caves, carved by meltwater into tunnels of glassy blue. Walking inside one of these caves is like stepping into another world, walls of translucent ice glimmering like sapphire cathedrals, ceilings shimmering with light that has been filtered through centuries of frozen snow. It is both beautiful and humbling, reminding us that nature is a builder of wonders beyond our imagination. Myrtilsjökull is another giant, one with a volatile heart. Beneath its ice rests Katla, one of Iceland's most powerful volcanoes. Katla erupts roughly every century, and each eruption can be catastrophic, melting large sections of the glacier and sending torrents of water racing to the sea. Scientists monitor Katla closely, for while the glacier's surface appears serene, the power below is immense. In this way, Iceland's glaciers are not just cold monuments, but delicate guardians of hidden fire. Smaller glaciers, too, tell their own stories. Snæfellsjökull, perched on the tip of the Snæfells Peninsula, is famous not only for its beauty, but for inspiring Jules Verne's novel, Journey to the Center of the Earth. Its mystical presence has long been seen as otherworldly, a place of spiritual energy where earth, ice, and sky meet. On clear days, the glacier can be seen from shining across the bay like a beacon. Glaciers in Iceland are not static. They move, they grind, and they carve the land as they slowly shift. Valleys, fjords, and moraines all bear the mark of glacial movement. This process is slow, measured in centimeters each day. Yet, over centuries, it reshapes entire regions. In this way, glaciers are both artists and engineers of Iceland's landscape, drawing lines across mountains and carving out lakes where meltwater gathers. But glaciers are also fragile. In recent decades, many of Iceland's glaciers have been retreating due to warming temperatures. Öktikál, once a glacier in western Iceland, lost so much of its mass that it was declared dead in 2014. A plaque now marks the spot, written as a letter to the future, reminding humanity of what was lost. It is a poignant reminder that these frozen giants, though vast, are not eternal. At the same time, glaciers remain vital to Iceland's identity and economy. Their meltwaters feed rivers that generate hydroelectric power. Their beauty draws travelers from across the world, supporting tourism. They influence weather patterns and provide fresh water for communities. In every sense, they are life-giving. Standing before a glacier, one cannot help but feel small. The silence is profound, broken only by the creak and crack of ice shifting. A sound that is both subtle and immense. Sometimes, a shard of ice breaks free and crashes into the sea, sending ripples across the water. In that moment, you are witnessing a process that has been repeating for millennia. A cycle of freezing, melting, and renewal. Glaciers also carry secrets. Layers of ice preserve records of past climates, trapping bubbles of air from centuries ago. Scientists study these icy archives to understand how the Earth's atmosphere has changed over time. In this way, glaciers are storytellers, too, holding knowledge from ages long before us. When night falls over Iceland and the stars shimmer above, glaciers reflect their cold light back, gleaming like silver mirrors across the land. They embody a paradox: stillness and movement, fragility and strength, silence and thunder. For those drifting into sleep, the thought of these frozen giants resting in the north can be comforting. They are steady presences, guardians of memory, watching over Iceland with a patient grace. To imagine Iceland is to imagine glaciers, endless white horizons, caves glowing with blue fire, rivers rushing with their meltwater. They are timeless, yet ever-changing, reminding us that even the coldest and strongest things are alive, breathing in slow rhythms we can barely comprehend. If the glaciers are Iceland's sleeping giants, then the volcanoes are its fiery heartbeat, predictable, restless, and full of creation. Few places on Earth showcase the raw power of geology as vividly as this island, where fire and ice share the same land. Iceland sits atop the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, the line where the Eurasian and North American tectonic plates drift apart. Here, the Earth's crust is thin, and magma rises close to the surface, giving birth to a land that is constantly reshaping itself. There are over 30 active volcanic systems in Iceland, and eruptions happen, on average, once every 4 to 5 years. Some are small, gentle flows of lava that paint a landscape in glowing rivers. Others are massive, shaking the world with ash and fire. Each eruption is both destructive and creative, destroying land while forming new ground, adding to the island's size and altering its geography. One of the most famous eruptions in recent history was Eyjafjallajökull in 2010. Its name may be difficult to pronounce, but the event made headlines worldwide. The volcano erupted beneath a glacier, melting vast amounts of ice and sending a plume of ash high into the atmosphere. Air traffic across Europe came to a standstill as ash clouds drifted across the continent. It was a striking reminder that this remote island holds the power to influence global systems. Another legendary eruption was Laki in 1783. This eruption lasted for months, releasing massive amounts of lava and toxic gases. It devastated Iceland's farmland, leading to famine and loss of life. The effects reached far beyond Iceland, with strange weather patterns appearing across Europe, and even reports that crops failed as far away as India. The Laki eruption remains one of the most powerful volcanic events in recorded history, showing how deeply interconnected our planet is. But not all volcanoes are catastrophic. Some are wonders of beauty. The eruption at Fagradalsfjall in 2021 captivated the world. Streams of lava lit up the night sky, flowing gently into valleys, creating new landscapes that drew thousands of visitors. Unlike violent eruptions, this one was relatively safe to witness, and many people hiked into the area to see glowing rivers of molten rock with their own eyes. It became a spectacle of nature, terrifying and mesmerizing all at once. Iceland's volcanoes are not just eruptions. They shape the land in quieter ways too. Lava fields stretch across the island. Dark carpets of hardened rock, sometimes covered in moss that glows green in the sunlight. Craters and calderas, the landscape, some filled with lakes of deep blue water. One of the most striking is Askju, a volcanic caldera in the highlands. Within it lies a crater lake whose name means hell. Yet its waters are turquoise, warm, and inviting, a place where fire once raged, now holding calm beauty. The relationship between volcanoes and glaciers is one of Iceland's most defining features. When an eruption happens beneath ice, the sudden melting creates dramatic floods, carving valleys and altering coastlines in hours. These J-Ku slopes are among the most powerful natural forces on Earth. The land carries their marks: twisted riverbeds, sand plains, and fields of black volcanic ash where once there was grass. Volcanoes also feed Iceland's energy. The heat beneath the ground is harnessed for geothermal power, providing hot water and electricity for communities. Entire cities, including, rely on this natural energy source. Hot water from geothermal plants heats homes, powers industries, and even warms sidewalks in winter, melting snow before it settles. In this way, the volcanoes are not just threats, they are gifts of abundance, providing a sustainable form of energy that few countries enjoy. Culturally, volcanoes play a powerful role in Icelandic identity. Legends and sagas speak of fiery mountains and the spirits said to live within them. The island's people have long respected the land's volatility, learning to adapt and live alongside its moods. There is a deep acceptance here that nature is not something to control, but something to coexist with. To stand near an active volcano is to feel both fear and awe. The ground rumbles beneath your feet. The air smells of sulfur, and glowing rivers of lava creep forward like living creatures. The heat is intense, yet The silence of the surrounding landscape makes it all the more powerful. Watching lava harden into black stone, you witness creation itself, earth renewing in real time. And yet, for all their violence, volcanoes also symbolize resilience. Iceland's people have endured their wrath for centuries, rebuilding homes, replanting fields, and even celebrating the new land they bring. The island is alive because of its volcanoes, and its future will always be written in their fire. When night falls and the northern lights shimmer above, those same volcanoes rest beneath the stars, glowing faintly in places where lava still moves under the surface. It is a humbling sight, reminders of the deep, ancient forces that shaped not only Iceland, but the very continents themselves. For those drifting to sleep, imagining Iceland's volcanoes is like imagining the Earth's pulse, slow and powerful. They are reminders that our planet is not still, but a live, breathing fire beneath the ice. If volcanoes are Iceland's fire, then glaciers are its vast, shimmering breath of ice. Covering about 11% of the island, these frozen expanses are not just static sheets of snow. They are dynamic, moving rivers of ice, shaping valleys, carving fjords, and leaving behind landscapes that seem sculpted by giants. The largest of them all is Vatnajökull, a glacier so immense that it dominates the southeastern part of the island. Stretching over 8,000 square kilometers, it is the largest glacier in Europe by volume. Standing at its edge, one feels humbled by the sheer size and endless horizon of white, broken by peaks that rise like black islands through the ice. Beneath its frozen surface lie volcanoes, waiting silently, and sometimes erupting beneath the ice, sending floods rushing across the plains. Vatnajökull has inspired awe for centuries. Beneath it, caves form each winter, glowing in shades of blue that seem otherworldly. Light filters through the dense ice, creating luminous walls that sparkle like gemstones. Walking inside one of these ice caves is like stepping into a frozen cathedral, where every sound echoes softly, and the silence feels sacred. They melt and collapse each spring, only to be reborn again the following winter, reminders that glaciers are never still, but constantly changing. Another glacier, Langjökull, is known as the Long Glacier. It is the second largest in Iceland and has become famous for its man-made ice tunnel. Carved deep into the glacier, the tunnel allows visitors to walk inside the frozen heart of the ice sheet. Here, one can see layers of ice that have built up over centuries, each one recording a piece of Iceland's climate history. It is like reading the frozen diary of the Earth itself. Smaller glaciers, like Kull, are equally fascinating. Kull is part of the larger Myrtle Glacier, and it is one of the most accessible. Visitors can hike across its crevasses and ridges, guided safely with ropes and crampons. The ice here is streaked with volcanic ash, creating striking black and white patterns. Each crack and fissure tells the story of movement, pressure, and the constant push of ice toward the sea. Iceland's glaciers are powerful sculptors. Over thousands of years, they carved the fjords, shaped the valleys, and smoothed the mountains. Without them, Iceland would look very different. They grind rock into fine powder called glacial flour, which washes into rivers and gives them a milky blue color, seen especially in glacial lagoons. One of the most enchanting of these is Geysers, a glacial lagoon at the edge of Vatnajökull. Here, massive icebergs break off the glacier and drift slowly across the lagoon before floating out to sea. They are dazzling in the light, glowing in shades of white and blue, some striped with black from volcanic ash. Seals often swim among them, and seabirds circle above, making the lagoon feel like a scene from another world. Across the road lies Diamond Beach, where chunks of ice wash ashore, glittering like crystals on the black sand. Despite their beauty, glaciers are also fragile. In recent decades, Iceland's glaciers have been retreating due to climate change. Scientists carefully measure their thickness and length, recording the speed of their decline. Öxarárfoss, once a glacier in western Iceland, lost so much mass that it was declared dead in 2014. A plaque now stands there, a somber reminder of how quickly these giants can vanish. Yet, glaciers remain central to Iceland's life and culture. They are vital sources of fresh water, feeding rivers and lakes. They influence weather patterns, cooling winds, and creating local climates. They are also deeply embedded in Icelandic folklore. Many tales speak of spirits and trolls said to live within the icy realms. Glaciers were once feared, considered dangerous lands of ghosts and hidden beings. Even today, they carry an air of mystery, their vast silence stirring the imagination. Economically, glaciers are also a cornerstone of Iceland's tourism industry. Thousands travel each year to hike them, explore their caves, and sail among their icebergs. Beyond tourism, glaciers also feed hydroelectric plants, turning meltwater into renewable energy that powers the nation. Just as volcanoes provide geothermal power, glaciers help sustain Iceland's clean energy reputation. There is something meditative about watching a glacier. They move so slowly, advancing only a few centimeters to a few meters per day, that their motion is imperceptible in real time. Yet, over years and decades, they transform entire landscapes. To sleep with the thought of glaciers is to imagine time itself flowing like Ice Island, patient and unstoppable. For those who wander close, the sound of a glacier is unforgettable. Cracks echo across the ice as it shifts. Water drips in hidden streams, trickling into crevasses. Sometimes, massive chunks of ice break away with a thunderous roar, sending waves rippling across nearby lagoons. These are reminders that glaciers are alive, not static, but breathing with the earth. As night falls and the auroras swirl above, glaciers reflect their colors, glowing faintly green and purple under the stars. They are among the most beautiful places to witness the northern lights, where ice and sky meet in quiet harmony. In Iceland, glaciers and volcanoes exist in balanced fire beneath the ice, ice above the fire. Together, they define the island's identity, shaping its landscapes and its people's way of life. For those drifting to sleep, they are like opposite halves of a dream, one burning with energy, the other calm and eternal. If glaciers are the frozen giants of Iceland, then waterfalls are their flowing voices. Few places on Earth hold such a concentration of waterfalls as Iceland. The land's unique geography, glaciers, volcanoes, highlands. And swift rivers creates cascades that tumble in nearly every corner of the island. They range from delicate veils of water trickling down mossy cliffs to roaring torrents that thunder into deep canyons. Each one has its own character, its own mood, and its own legend. Among the most iconic is Gulfis, the Golden Falls, found along the Hvida River. This two-tiered waterfall plunges into a rugged canyon with a force that can be felt in the chest. On sunny days, the mist rising from the falls creates shimmering rainbows, giving it its golden name. In the early 20th century, Gulfis was nearly lost to a hydroelectric project. The plans fell through, and today it is protected, not just as a natural wonder, but as a symbol of Iceland's respect for its landscapes. To stand before it is to feel the heartbeat of Iceland's rivers, powerful yet graceful. Another famous cascade is Seljalandsfoss, a waterfall that invites visitors behind its curtain of water. Dropping from a height of 60 meters, it tumbles over a sheer cliff into a calm pool below. A path winds around the back, offering the rare chance to see the world through a veil of falling water. At sunset, the light streaming through the cascade paints the spray in glowing colors. It is one of the most photographed places in Iceland. Yet, when you stand there in person, the rush of water muffling the world around you, it feels intimate and timeless, is equally impressive, but with an entirely different character. Wide and powerful, it drops in a single sheet, creating a roaring wall of water. Legends surround. One tells of a treasure chest hidden behind the falls by a Viking settler. The chest was said to be glimpsed by villagers long ago, but only the ring from its side was ever retrieved. Today, that ring is displayed in a local museum, tying history, myth, and nature together. Then there is Dettifoss, often described as the most powerful waterfall in Europe. Located in the north, in Vatnajökull National Park, its thundering waters shake the ground as they plunge 44 meters into the canyon below. Over 500 cubic meters of water pour over its edge, every second an almost unimaginable force. Visitors often describe the experience as overwhelming, as if nature itself were reminding them of its raw strength. Not all Icelandic waterfalls are vast or loud. Some are delicate and hidden, like Geographic, tucked behind a narrow canyon near Seljalandsfoss. To reach it, one must walk carefully through a stream into a moss-covered chamber where the waterfall tumbles in near secrecy. The space feels like a natural sanctuary, a secret place whispered into existence by the land itself. Iceland's waterfalls are deeply tied to its culture and economy as well. Their waters power hydroelectric plants, turning nature's beauty into renewable energy. They also inspire countless works of art, poetry, and music. The people of Iceland often view waterfalls not just as scenery, but as spiritual places, reminders of the island's ever-present connection between humans and nature. Waterfalls are also shaped by the rhythm of the seasons. In spring, as glaciers melt, rivers swell, and cascades roar with fresh strength. In winter, some freeze partially, creating icy sculptures of flowing water paused mid-motion. The contrast between stillness and movement is mesmerizing, as if time itself were caught between breaths. Beyond their beauty, waterfalls help shape the land. They erode rock, deepen canyons, and carve new paths for rivers. Over centuries, their steady flow changes the face of Iceland, just as glaciers and volcanoes do. To think of them at night is to imagine time not in hours or minutes, but in centuries and millennia, where water is both sculptor and artist. There is also a calming quality to waterfalls. The constant sound of rushing water has long been linked with peace and relaxation. In Iceland, that sound is everywhere, on hikes, along roads, and even near small villages. It creates a natural soundtrack, a reminder of life's steady flow. For those drifting to sleep, imagining the steady rhythm of Iceland's waterfalls can be like sinking into a lullaby. One written not by people, but by the earth itself. Some falls, like Goafoss, the waterfall of the gods, carry historical weight. In the year 1000, when Iceland adopted Christianity, it is said that the Old Norse idols were cast into this waterfall. Since then, it has been both a natural wonder and a cultural landmark, a place where history and faith converge with nature's majesty. When combined, Iceland's waterfalls form more than just a collection of sights. They are a symphony, each with its own tone, volume, and tempo. Some roar, some whisper, some shine with sunlight, and others glow in the moonlight. Together, they remind us that Iceland is a land of contrasts, where every corner holds another story waiting to be discovered. As night deepens, one can imagine lying beside a waterfall. The mist cool against the skin, the stars above, and the endless sound of water in motion. In that moment, time feels slower, calmer, and deeply connected to the world around us. If Iceland is called the land of fire and ice, then its glaciers are the embodiment of that second element. Vast, slow-moving rivers of ice. They cover about 11% of the country, making Iceland one of the most glaciated lands on Earth. These frozen expanses are not static. They breathe and shift with the seasons, shaping valleys, feeding rivers, and even influencing Iceland's weather. The largest glacier, Vatnajökull, so immense that it covers around 8,000 square kilometers, nearly the size of Puerto Rico. Beneath its icy surface lie active volcanoes, including Tiong, which has erupted several times in recorded history. This combination of fire and ice creates glacial floods known as Jökulhlaups. These sudden bursts of water carve the landscape dramatically, sweeping away soil, rock, and sometimes even roads or bridges. Though destructive, they are also reminders of Iceland's ever-changing nature. Langjökull, the long glacier, is the second largest in Iceland and a source of fresh water that sustains both rivers and hydroelectric projects. In recent years, an ice tunnel has been carved into its depths, allowing visitors to walk inside the glacier itself. The experience is like entering another world. Blue light glowing through thick ice walls. Silence broken only by distant cracks and drips, as if the glacier itself is alive. Glaciers in Iceland are not only natural wonders, but also vital to its economy. They attract thousands of travelers each year who come for ice cave tours, snowmobiling, or the chance to see the surreal beauty of ice meeting volcanic earth. Tourism around glaciers fuels local businesses, creating a bridge between natural beauty and modern livelihoods. Beyond tourism, glaciers also serve as time capsules. Scientists study their layers to understand past climates, reading ancient snowfalls like pages of a history book. Tiny bubbles trapped in the ice contain air from centuries ago, revealing changes in Earth's atmosphere. In this way, Iceland's glaciers are not just icy landscapes, but archives of our planet's memory. One of the most enchanting experiences is exploring the crystal ice caves that form each winter. Found primarily in Vatnajökull, these caves shimmer in shades of blue, so deep they seem otherworldly. The ice, compressed over centuries, refracts light in a way that feels both surreal and calming. To walk through one is to feel suspended between water and air, as if standing inside frozen light. These caves melt and reform each year, so no two seasons offer the same formations, reminding us of the glacier's living nature. But glaciers are also vulnerable. In recent decades, Iceland's ice has been retreating due to climate change. Oaks Call, once a glacier, lost its official status in 2014 after shrinking too much to move like living ice. A memorial plaque now sits where it once lay, reminding us of the fragility of these frozen giants and the importance of caring for the climate that sustains them. The meltwaters of glaciers shape Iceland in countless ways. They feed mighty rivers that power hydroelectric plants, turning icy flow into electricity. They nourish the fertile plains where farming thrives, linking frozen heights to green valleys. And they create glacial lagoons, such as Geysers, where massive icebergs float serenely toward the sea. This lagoon, connected to the Atlantic by a short river, is often filled with seals, seabirds, and drifting ice sculptures that sparkle in the light. The gentle movement of these icebergs is mesmerizing, almost meditative, as if the glacier itself were offering a lullaby to the ocean. Geysers has become one of the most iconic sights in Iceland. Its surreal beauty has even attracted filmmakers, appearing in movies like Batman Begins and James Bond's Die Another Day. But beyond cinema, it is a place where people pause, sit by the shore, and watch time itself drift past in slow, icy silence. Glaciers have also shaped Iceland's history. During the settlement period, over 1,000 years ago, glaciers were larger, their presence influencing where people farmed, fished, and built homes. Sagas from the medieval era often reference these icy landscapes, weaving them into tales of survival, heroism, and connection to nature. For Icelanders today, glaciers are more than natural features. They are symbols of endurance, beauty, and change. Schoolchildren visit them to learn about geology and climate. Artists paint and photograph them to capture fleeting light and shadow. Musicians and poets describe them as sleeping giants, dreaming beneath their icy blankets. At night, when the sky clears, the northern lights often dance above glaciers, creating scenes of unmatched wonder. Ribbons of green, purple, and blue swirling above glowing ice. The effect is dreamlike, as if the earth and sky were in conversation, their voices carried by the stillness of the frozen world below. To imagine Iceland's glaciers while resting is to picture timelessness itself. Vast fields of ice stretching to the horizon, silent except for distant cracks. Mountains rise above them, Rivers flow below them, and stars glow over them. They remind us that even in a world of constant change, some places hold a slower, steadier rhythm, one that can calm the heart and ease the mind into sleep. If the glaciers represent Iceland's frozen heartbeat, then its hot springs and geothermal fields are the fiery pulse that warms the land. Few places on Earth showcase the intimate relationship between water, heat, and stone quite like Iceland. Here, natural hot springs bubble to the surface, releasing steam that drifts across lava fields and meadows, as if the Earth itself were exhaling. The best known of these geothermal marvels is the Blue Lagoon, located near Reykjavík. It is not a natural spring, but a man-made lagoon fed by the runoff of a geothermal power plant. Its milky blue waters are rich in silica and minerals, believed to soothe the skin and ease the body. Visitors come from around the world, not only for relaxation, but also for the surreal experience of bathing outdoors in warm water, while cold winds sweep across the lava fields. In winter, snow often lies just beyond the lagoon, creating a scene where fire and ice meet in tranquil balance. But beyond the Blue Lagoon lies a network of natural hot springs scattered across the country. Reykjavík, or Steam Valley, offers a particularly magical experience. A warm river winding through a green valley where bathers can settle into the flowing water, adjusting their position to find the perfect temperature. To soak there is to feel embraced by the land itself, warmed by heat rising from deep within the earth. The land Manalagar region, nestled in the highlands, is famous for its colorful rhyolite mountains and natural geothermal pools. Surrounded by hills that glow in hues of red, yellow, and green, hikers often end their long treks by slipping into these warm pools, letting the water ease their tired muscles. Here, the landscape feels almost alien, like a place out of time, reminding us that Iceland is constantly reshaping itself through fire and heat. Geothermal activity is not only for bathing, it powers much of Iceland's economy. Nearly 90% of homes in the country are heated using geothermal energy. Steam rising from the earth is channeled into turbines and heating systems, providing both electricity and hot water. This clean, renewable resource has made Iceland one of the world's leaders in sustainable energy. To live here is to know that the warmth in your home is not merely mechanical, but a gift from the earth itself. Geysers are another form of geothermal wonder, and the very word geyser originates from Iceland. The Great Geyser, though quieter now than in past centuries, once hurled boiling water high into the sky, giving its name to similar features around the world. Nearby, Strákur remains active, erupting every few minutes with a reliable burst of water and steam. To stand there is to feel the anticipation build as the pool swells, then release in a sudden, powerful surge. It is a spectacle of rhythm and patience as the earth breathes through water. The connection between hot springs and Icelandic culture runs deep. For centuries, people have gathered at these warm waters to bathe, to socialize, and to heal. In earlier times, farmers used geothermal pools to wash clothes or cook food, lowering baskets of fish or bread into boiling springs. The hot water was both a tool for survival and a place of community, where conversations flowed as easily as the steam rose into the sky. One of the more enchanting geothermal phenomena is the presence of fumaroles and mud pots. Found in areas like Hvalir, near Lake Mekvat, these bubbling, sulfur-scented pools remind visitors that Iceland's geothermal activity is both beautiful and untamed. The ground hisses, gurgles, and steams, creating a symphony of sounds that seem almost otherworldly. The colors, turquoise red earth, pale yellows, and steaming blues give the impression of walking on another planet. Geothermal fields also shape Iceland's mythology. In folklore, hot springs and steaming vents were often linked to hidden people or spirits. The invisible power of the earth, emerging in sudden bursts of heat and steam, inspired both respect and imagination. Even today, many Icelanders speak of the land as living, a partner in their daily lives, rather than merely a backdrop. At night, hot springs take on a different kind of magic. Imagine lying in a warm pool, surrounded by quiet mountains, while above you, the northern lights ripple across the sky. The steam rises gently, blurring the boundary between earth and sky, while the green and purple light shimmer overhead. It is a union of elements: earth's fire, water's warmth, and the heaven's light. Few experiences on earth are as dreamlike or serene. For those who live in Iceland, geothermal energy is also a reminder of resilience. Harsh winters once made life here difficult, but with the harnessing of hot water, modern Icelanders enjoy comfort and warmth that their ancestors could scarcely imagine. Yet, even in comfort, the presence of geothermal heat reminds them of nature's untamed force, a reminder that their lives are tied to a living, breathing planet. To reflect on Iceland's hot springs is to think of balance. Cold and warmth, destruction and creation, stillness and eruption. These waters invite both rest and reflection, teaching us that the earth holds within it not only the power to shape continents, but also the gentleness to soothe weary travelers. As you imagine the steam rising from hidden valleys and the warmth of a spring against cold night air, let yourself drift further into calm. When night falls in Iceland, a new world emerges. The sky above becomes a canvas vast enough to hold both stars and dancing light. The northern lights, known as Aurora Borealis, are among the country's most enchanting spectacles. They appear as ribbons of green, purple, and sometimes even red, swaying across the heavens in a silent, otherworldly ballet. Auroras are born from interactions between solar winds and the Earth's magnetic field. Charged particles from the sun travel across space, colliding with atoms in the upper atmosphere. The result is light, gentle, ethereal, and ever-changing. In Iceland, where the long winter nights stretch for many hours, the auroras are frequent visitors, painting the darkness with their mysterious glow. To witness them is more than an act of sightseeing. It is an experience that stirs the imagination. People often describe the lights as alive, shifting, and swirling, as though they carry intention. Sometimes they appear faint and ghost-like, just a soft veil against the stars. At other times, they burst into brilliance, moving swiftly like celestial waves across the horizon. Iceland's location, straddling the Arctic Circle, makes it one of the best places in the world to see the northern lights. Remote areas with little light pollutions, such as the West Fords, the highlands, or even quiet coastal villages offer especially breathtaking views. In these places, the silence of snow, the crisp air, and the vast sky combine to make the spectacle feel deeply personal, as though the heavens performed just for you. The auroras have long inspired legends. In Norse mythology, they were thought to be reflections from the shields and armor of Valkyrie's warrior maidens, who guided fallen heroes to the halls of Valhalla. In other stories, the lights were believed to be messages from ancestors, guiding the living or reminding them of their place in the universe. Across different cultures, they have been seen as omens, blessings, or simply wonders too great to explain. For Icelanders today, the lights hold a more scientific explanation, but the sense of awe remains. Local guides often lead visitors on aurora hunts, chasing clear skies to give travelers the best chance of seeing them. Entire tourism economies bloom in winter around this natural phenomenon, blending culture, travel, and economy in ways that support remote communities. Even so, no guarantee exists. The northern lights are elusive, sometimes hidden by clouds, sometimes silent 4 nights in a row. This unpredictability only deepens their magic. The northern lights are not Iceland's only celestial wonder. In the summer months, the midnight sun takes over, bathing the land in golden light that lingers far into the night. During June and July, the sun barely dips below the horizon, and even at midnight, the sky glows with twilight. It creates an entirely different rhythm of life, where night feels like day, and time itself seems to blur. For those who live in Iceland, these extremes of light and darkness shape daily life and culture. Winters can be long, with limited daylight, encouraging traditions of warmth, storytelling, and community. Summers, by contrast, invite energy, festivals, and outdoor exploration. To live here is to adapt to the sky's moods, whether it offers endless daylight or infinite stars. Astronomically, Iceland offers more than auroras and sunlight. The country's dark skies also reveal the Milky Way in remarkable clarity, with little interference from city lights in rural areas. On clear nights, countless stars stretch across the heavens, reminding viewers of the immensity of the universe. In a world increasingly filled with artificial light, this natural darkness has become something precious, an opportunity to reconnect with the cosmos. Even the sounds of Iceland's nights contribute to their atmosphere. In quiet valleys, the wind carries whispers through the grass. Along the coast, waves lap gently against black sand beaches. Sometimes, in geothermal regions, steam hisses from vents, a reminder that the earth is never entirely at rest. Against this backdrop, the appearance of the northern light feels like part of a larger symphony, as though land, sea, and sky are performing together. For many visitors, the northern lights become a memory that lingers for years. They are not merely seen, but felt, mingling of wonder, humility, and calm. In their presence, time slows, and the boundaries between the earthly and the cosmic seem to dissolve. You are left with the sense that you have touched something vast, something eternal, as you imagine the lights moving across the sky. Their green glow, shimmering above Iceland's snowy mountains, let yourself drift into stillness. The auroras remind us that the universe is alive with unseen forces, and that beauty often comes not on command, but as a gift of patience and presence. While Iceland is famous for its glaciers and volcanoes, its wildlife tells a quieter story. The country may not have the dense forests of other lands, nor the wide variety of animals seen elsewhere. But what it does have is distinct, resilient, and deeply tied to its environment. One of Iceland's most iconic creatures is the puffin. With its colorful beak and playful expression, the puffin has become a symbol of the island. Each summer, millions of puffins return to Iceland's cliffs to nest, particularly along the Westman Islands and the cliffs in the West Fjords. They dig burrows into the grassy edges of cliffs and raise their chicks there, safe above the crashing Atlantic. Despite their almost comical appearance, puffins are skilled flyers and divers, using their wings to propel themselves underwater as they hunt for fish. Seeing colonies of puffins clinging to steep sea cliffs is a sight that blends charm with the raw force of nature. Seabirds, in general, thrive in Iceland. Guillemots, kittiwakes, and Arctic terns all find nesting sites along its coasts. The Arctic tern, in particular, is remarkable. This small bird makes the longest known migration of any animal, traveling from Iceland all the way to Antarctica and back each year, round trip of nearly 70,000 kilometers. For Icelanders, the tern is both a summer companion and a fierce protector of its nesting grounds, often swooping aggressively at those who wander too close. On land, mammals are fewer, but still notable. The Arctic fox is the only native land mammal, having arrived thousands of years ago, likely by walking across frozen sea ice. These foxes are resourceful and adaptable, surviving in the harshest of environments. In summer, their fur is brown or gray, blending with the earth and rocks, while in winter it turns pure white, allowing them to disappear into the snow. They live across Iceland, from coastal areas to the remote highlands, embodying resilience in a land shaped by extremes. Reindeer also roam parts of Iceland, though they are not native. They were introduced in the late 18th century from Norway, intended to be used as livestock. While the attempt at herding never truly succeeded, some herds survived and now live in the eastern regions, grazing freely across the tundra and mountain slopes. Their presence adds a touch of Arctic wilderness to the landscape, though they remain relatively limited in number. Marine life around Iceland is especially rich. The cold, nutrient-filled waters attract a wide range of species, from fish to whales. In fact, Iceland is one of the best places in the world for whale watching. Species such as humpback whales, orcas, minke whales, and even the mighty blue whale can be seen near its shores. During summer, humpbacks often breach the water, lifting their massive bodies into the air before crashing back with a thunderous splash. Orcas, sleek and powerful, patrol the seas, while dolphins and porpoises dart playfully in the waves. For centuries, the sea has provided Icelanders with sustenance. Cod, haddock, and herring have been central to the economy, shaping not only food traditions, but also politics and global trade. The so-called Cod Wars of the 20th century disputes between Iceland and the United Kingdom over fishing rights highlight how vital these waters are. Even today, Iceland's fishing industry remains one of the most advanced in the world, carefully balancing tradition with sustainability. In freshwater, Iceland's rivers and lakes are home to trout and salmon, attracting anglers from around the world. The clarity of glacial rivers makes fishing a serene experience, blending sport with a connection to untouched nature. These rivers are lifelines, providing both food and energy, as many are harnessed for hydropower. Another example of how Iceland works in harmony with its environment. Plant life in Iceland is less abundant than in warmer regions, but it has its own quiet beauty. Moss is everywhere, carpeting lava fields in soft, green blankets that look like something from another planet. This moss is incredibly fragile, taking decades to recover if disturbed. Lichens, hardy shrubs, and wildflowers also find their place among rocks and soil. In summer, the highlands bloom with purple lupinzan, introduced species that has spread widely, adding waves of color to the stark volcanic terrain. While controversial, the lupin has helped prevent erosion in fragile soils. In many ways, Iceland's ecosystems are shaped not only by cold, but by constant change. Volcanic eruptions create new land while destroying habitats. Glaciers retreat, exposing ground that plants and animals slowly reclaim. Coastal erosion reshapes cliffs where seabirds nest. Life here is in constant dialogue with the shifting earth, always adapting, always moving forward. This resilience is mirrored in Icelandic culture. People and animals alike have learned to survive in balance with an environment that can be harsh, unpredictable, and beautiful all at once. Whether it is the puffin flying between sea and sky, the Arctic fox prowling snowy valleys, or whales swimming beneath the auroras, Iceland's wildlife adds a living pulse to the land of fire and ice. As we drift through this chapter, imagine the silence of a moss-covered lava field, broken only by the cry of seabirds overhead. Picture the splash of a whale's tail against the deep blue Atlantic, or the soft flash of white fur moving through winter snow. These are not just animals in a distant land, they are symbols of survival, adaptation, and the enduring beauty of life at the edge of the Arctic. To understand Iceland, one must understand its glaciers. They are not just frozen rivers of ice, but vast, living landscapes that breathe, shift, and define much of the island's geography. Covering about 11% of Iceland's surface. These glaciers are remnants of the last ice age, sculpting valleys, shaping rivers, and influencing both culture and climate. The largest glacier, Vatnajökull, is a world unto itself. Stretching over 8,000 square kilometers, it is the largest ice cap in Europe by volume. Beneath its surface lie hidden volcanoes, including Tiang, which has erupted multiple times even while buried under thick ice. When volcanic heat meets frozen mass, it creates sudden floods known as geysers. These glacial outburst floods can release millions of tons of water in a matter of hours, reshaping landscapes and reminding Icelanders of the delicate balance between fire and ice. Walking across a glacier is like stepping into another world. The surface sparkles with countless shades of blue and white, and crevasses open like frozen rivers into the depths. Ice caves form in winter, carved by meltwater streams beneath the glacier, their walls glowing with an otherworldly blue light. These caves are temporary, collapsing and reforming as seasons change, but while they last. They offer a glimpse into the heart of the glacier. Langkaw, the second largest glacier, is also remarkable. It is home to man-made ice tunnels, allowing visitors to walk deep within the glacier itself. Standing inside, surrounded by walls of ancient ice, one can almost feel the history of centuries preserved within. Each layer represents snowfall from years past, compressed into crystal clear or snow-white bands that scientists study to learn about past climates. In this way, glaciers are natural archives, recording the story of Earth's atmosphere and weather over millennia. Smaller glaciers, like Snæfellsjökull, carry their own legends. Rising from the Snæfellsnes Peninsula, this glacier-capped volcano is often called magical. It inspired Jules Verne's classic novel Journey to the Center of the Earth, where explorers enter the Earth through its icy crater. Standing atop Snæfellsjökull on a clear day, one can see across the peninsula, the ocean, and even as far as Greenland. It is no wonder the site has long been considered mystical. Iceland's glaciers are not static. They are in constant motion. Flowing slowly like rivers of ice, they carve valleys, grind rocks into fine silt, and feed rivers that cascade into waterfalls. Glacial rivers such as the mighty Lam, which feeds the powerful Dettifoss waterfall, originate from Vatnajökull's melting ice. In this way, glaciers shape Iceland's most dramatic natural wonders. But glaciers are also retreating. Climate change has accelerated melting, and some smaller glaciers are disappearing entirely. In 2019, Iceland held a memorial ceremony for Oak-Kayo, a glacier that lost so much mass it could no longer move like a true glacier. A plaque now stands where Oak's call once was, reading, "A letter to the future." This monument is to acknowledge that we know what is happening and what needs to be done. Only you know if we did it. It is both a scientific marker and a human reminder of our connection to the natural world. Despite their fragility, glaciers remain central to Iceland's identity. They are sources of fresh water, of power through hydroelectric dams, and of beauty that draws travelers from around the globe. Tourism to sites like Vatnajökull National Park provides both income and education, allowing visitors to experience the vastness of ice firsthand, while learning about the challenges it faces. The relationship between glaciers and Iceland's people has always been one of respect and adaptation. In centuries past, glaciers were seen as both majestic and threatening, advancing into farmland and creating treacherous landscapes. Today, they are appreciated not only for their beauty, but also for their scientific and cultural significance. Picture yourself now, drifting across a frozen expanse, where the air is crisp and still, and the horizon blurs into endless white. Beneath your feet, the glacier shifts slowly, carrying with it the memory of ages. Overhead, the light dances, sometimes soft and golden, sometimes piercingly clear. In these icy realms, time feels different, slower, deeper, reminding us of the patience of nature. Iceland's glaciers are both guardians of history and harbingers of change. They hold within them the story of ice ages past, and their retreat speaks of the climate challenges of today. Yet, in their presence, one feels peace. The silence of ice is calming, a reminder that, even in a world of constant transformation, at the heart of Iceland lies not just its landscapes of volcanoes, glaciers, and waterfalls, but its people, resourceful and deeply connected to the natural rhythms of the island. Living in one of the most geologically active places on Earth has shaped not only Iceland's geography, but also the culture, traditions, and way of life of those who call it home. Iceland's population is small, around 390,000, making it one of the least densely populated countries in the world. Yet, despite its size, Iceland has cultivated a rich cultural identity. The Icelandic language, closely related to Old Norse, has remained remarkably unchanged for centuries. This linguistic stability means that modern Icelanders can still read the medieval sagas in their original form, connecting them to their ancestors in a direct and profound way. These sagas, written in the 13th and 14th centuries, are among the most treasured works of world literature. They tell tales of Viking voyages, family rivalries, and the struggles of survival in a harsh environment. More than just stories, they serve as cultural anchors, preserving values of resilience, honor, and community that still resonate in modern Iceland. Religion, too, has played an interesting role. While Christianity is the main faith, Iceland's people have kept alive a fascination with folklore. Elves and hidden people, known as roads, have even been rerouted to avoid disturbing rocks believed to be elf homes. This blending of modern life with myth reflects a worldview where the natural and the mystical coexist peacefully, perhaps influenced by the raw forces of nature that surround them. Iceland's economy has long been tied to the sea. Fishing was the backbone of survival for centuries, and even today, seafood remains a major export. But Iceland has diversified, using its natural resources, geothermal energy, and hydropower to fuel industries, attract technology companies, and make the nation nearly self-sufficient in renewable energy. This green economy is a point of pride, showing how a small nation can innovate while caring for the environment. Tourism has also become central. Visitors flock to a city that combines modern culture with small-town warmth, where colorful houses line the streets and buzz with conversation. The capital offers vibrant art, music, and literature scenes. From the annual Iceland Airwaves Music Festival to the International Film Festival, despite its size, the city pulses with creativity and global influence. Food traditions tell their own story. Historically, Icelanders relied on what the land and sea could provide. Fisk meant salted fish, fermented shark known as, and lamb roasted or smoked. Today, Icelandic cuisine blends old traditions with new influences, offering fresh seafood, skyr, a yogurt-like dairy product, and modern fine dining that draws international praise. Even luxury travel seekers are surprised by Iceland's culinary scene, which rivals that of larger nations. Education and literature remain at the core of Icelandic identity. The country has one of the highest literacy rates in the world, and was designated a UNESCO City of Literature. Book publishing is so deeply ingrained that Iceland celebrates Jólabókaflóðið, the Christmas book flood, where new books are exchanged and read during the holidays. It is a tradition that reflects not just love of learning, but also the joy of storytelling in long, dark winters. The people's resilience is also seen in their ability to adapt to challenges. Icelanders have lived through volcanic eruptions, harsh winters, and economic crises. Each time, they rebuilt with a sense of community and ingenuity. This spirit of unity is known as a strong collective identity that places importance on cooperation and trust. Culturally, Iceland embraces both heritage and progress. While the sagas and folklore remain alive, Iceland is also a hub of innovation in renewable energy, design, and digital technology. It is a place where tradition and modernity meet harmoniously, just as fire and ice coexist across its landscapes. And perhaps what defines Iceland most is the relationship between its people and nature. The mountains, glaciers, and seas are not just backdrops, but companions in daily life. Icelanders swim in geothermal pools, hike volcanic trails, and watch the Aurora with the same ease as others might stroll through a park. Nature is not separate, is woven into identity, health, and happiness. Imagine standing on the shores of the North Atlantic, the midnight sun painting the horizon in soft gold. Behind you, glaciers gleam. In the distance, volcanoes smoke gently. And in between, in warm homes, Icelanders read, sing, and tell stories that link them to both past and future. Iceland is not just a land of extreme it is a land of harmony, where culture and nature, myth and science, resilience and beauty blend into something rare and unforgettable. A small island, yet infinite in wonder. With that, we end our 40 calm facts about Iceland. If you've enjoyed this journey, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us where you're listening from, and perhaps what part of Iceland you dream of visiting. If you drifted off to sleep along the way, may your dreams be filled with glaciers, auroras, and the quiet power of nature's story.